Beyond death, the journey to eternity. There are moments in life when we find ourselves alone in the quiet of the night, perhaps sitting in the stillness of our rooms or looking up at the vast, starry sky. In those moments, a profound question can arise in our minds. Do we really die? With each breath, the inevitable shadow of death seems to lurk, silently influencing our existence. It's almost as if death is woven into the very fabric of life, casting its cold presence over the living. But what if death is not the end we so fear? What if it is not an ultimate cessation of being, but rather a doorway into something deeper, something more meaningful? What if, instead of a final destruction, death is part of a cosmic process, an evolution, a transformation, or even a rebirth of consciousness? This thought-provoking question forces us to confront not just the concept of death, but the broader nature of life itself. Is death truly the end of existence, or is it part of a greater cycle, a cycle in which life and death are interconnected and inseparable? To ponder the mysteries of death is to ponder the very essence of life, our purpose, and our place within the grand design of the universe. Throughout history, many ancient teachings have suggested that life and death are not separate events, but instead form a continuous cycle. Death, while seemingly an inevitable end, is actually a constant presence within life. It resides in the background of every living moment, waiting to make itself known, even though most of the time it is hidden from our awareness. This awareness of death, however, has the potential to unlock deeper truths about our existence. But what do we truly understand about death? Is it merely an end to the story, or is it an intricate part of a much larger and more mysterious narrative? As we embark on this exploration of death's mysteries, we may come to realize that it is, in fact, a doorway to something much more significant. Perhaps a doorway to spiritual growth, higher consciousness, or even an evolution of the soul. The gates of eternity, death and reincarnation. Death has been one of humanity's oldest and most profound mysteries. Across cultures and time periods, death has been understood in countless ways, with various belief systems offering differing views on what happens after we die. In Hinduism, for example, death is not seen as the final chapter, but as the beginning of the soul's journey towards rebirth. According to this view, when one life ends, the soul transitions to another, leaving behind the imperfections of past lives and moving toward a higher state of consciousness. This process of reincarnation allows the soul to evolve, shedding the past and gaining wisdom in each new life. Similarly, Buddhism introduces the concept of karma, the law of cause and effect, which is intrinsically linked to death and reincarnation. Buddhism teaches that death is not a simple end, but a transitional moment in the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Every death marks the beginning of a new existence, a new opportunity for the soul to grow and develop. For Buddhists, the cycle of reincarnation is a vital part of the soul's journey toward enlightenment. Each death represents a step toward spiritual evolution, with the soul learning valuable lessons and progressing toward ultimate liberation. Yet, this idea of death as a transition is not exclusive to Eastern traditions. Ancient Egyptian beliefs, for example, held that death was not merely a passage from one life to another, but a process of spiritual rebirth. In Egyptian teachings, death was viewed as the beginning of a new phase of existence, where the soul would transcend to a higher plane of being, free from the limitations of the physical world. In Hermeticism, death was also seen as a spiritual process, an alchemical transformation through which the soul sheds its earthly form and rises to a new level of awareness. These perspectives, from Hinduism and Buddhism to ancient Egyptian and Hermetic philosophies, all suggest that death is not a final destination, but a part of a grand cosmic journey. It is a process of purification, of spiritual growth, and of transformation, through which the soul evolves and attains higher levels of consciousness. According to the teachings of reincarnation, death is an integral part of the soul's evolution. It is not just the end of one life, but the transition into a new phase of existence. Each death is an opportunity for the soul to purify itself, to learn from past mistakes, and to gain wisdom. But this process is not instantaneous. The soul must undergo a series of lessons, some of which are drawn from past lives and karmic debts. Karma, the universal law of cause and effect, plays a pivotal role in the soul's journey through death and rebirth. It is through the resolution of past karmas that the soul moves toward enlightenment and ultimate freedom. The karmic cycle in the shadow of the past. Death, then, is not merely a physical end. It is also a moment of spiritual reckoning, a time when the soul confronts its past, its actions, its mistakes, and its unresolved karmic debts. Every thought, every action, and every emotional experience leaves an imprint on the soul, creating a web of karma that spans across lifetimes. As we live our lives, we are constantly accumulating karma, both positive and negative, through our choices and actions. This accumulated karma, carried from one life to the next, shapes our experiences and our challenges in the current life. In death, the soul must face these karmic imprints and undergo a process of purification. The moment of death, then, becomes a pivotal moment of spiritual judgment. It is the time when the soul is called to review its past actions, to recognize its mistakes, and to resolve its karmic debts. This spiritual reckoning is not about punishment, but rather about growth and evolution. The soul must come to terms with the choices it made in previous lives and understand the lessons that those choices have taught. Only then can the soul be liberated from the karmic cycle and move towards spiritual freedom. However, this process of karmic resolution is not always easy. The soul may carry heavy karmic burdens from past lives that are difficult to release. The mistakes and wrongdoings of past incarnations can create patterns of suffering that continue to repeat in each new life. But the moment of death offers an opportunity to break free from these patterns. It is a chance for the soul to cleanse itself of the karmic residue of past lives and to begin anew. But this process requires the soul to approach death with awareness, to face its past with honesty, and to accept the responsibility for its actions. Ancient teachings tell us that death is a time for the resolution of karmic debts, a time for the soul to confront its past and move towards spiritual liberation. Every death, therefore, is not just an end, but a step forward in the soul's evolutionary journey. It is a process of purification, growth, and transformation. However, escaping the karmic cycle is not always straightforward. The soul must be willing to face its past mistakes and learn from them in order to move forward. Only through this process of self-reflection and self-awareness can the soul transcend its past and attain a higher state of being. Death and intention. the ruler of the soul. According to many ancient teachings, the soul is not merely a passive observer of its journey through life and death. Rather, the soul is guided by intention. Intention is not only a powerful force during life, but it also holds great power at the moment of death. The way we live our lives, the choices we make, the intentions we hold, determines the course of our soul's journey, both during our lifetimes and after death. At the moment of death, the soul has the opportunity to set its intention for the next phase of its journey. It is during this moment that the soul decides its next steps, whether it will be reborn into another body, whether it will ascend to a higher plane of existence, or whether it will remain in a state of spiritual limbo. The intention set at the time of death is powerful, for it shapes the soul's future, determining where it will go and what it will experience next. This intention, born of the soul's deepest desires, is a key factor in shaping the post-death experience. Ancient teachings suggest that intention is the force that guides the soul beyond death. It is through the power of intention that the soul chooses its path after death. Whether the soul moves toward reincarnation or ascends to a higher realm is determined by the intention it sets at the moment of death. In this way, death is not a passive event, but an active process in which the soul exercises its free will and consciously chooses its next step. If the soul's journey beyond death is guided by intention, then it stands to reason that the soul's intention throughout life is equally important. The more consciously we live our lives, the more aware we become of our intentions, the more meaningful our journey through death will be. By living with awareness and purpose, we can ensure that our death, too, will be a meaningful transition, one that takes us closer to the truth of our existence. Death and awareness. What do we know at the end of life? As we contemplate death, we realize that it is an inevitable part of life. It is a certainty that we cannot escape. Yet, despite this certainty, we are far from fully understanding what death truly entails. What happens after we die? How does the soul transition from one state of being to another? These are questions that remain largely unanswered. However, the one thing we do know is that death is a natural part of life, and our awareness of death can profoundly affect the way we live. Most of us live in fear of death, yet this fear can serve to make life more precious. When we come to terms with the reality of death, we begin to appreciate the fleeting nature of life and the preciousness of every moment. Death becomes not something to fear, but something that makes life more meaningful. When we live with the awareness of our mortality, we are reminded to live more fully, to cherish each moment, and to seek deeper meaning in our daily experiences. Death, in this sense, is not something to be feared, but something to be respected. It is the natural end of one chapter, but also the gateway to the next. When we view death not as an end, but as a transition, we are better able to live with purpose and intention. Our awareness of death invites us to live more consciously, to face each day with greater clarity, and to seek out the truth of our existence. Conclusion: death and eternity. Ultimately, death is the greatest mystery of life. It is the one truth we cannot escape, yet it is also the gateway to something far greater than we can imagine. Death is not an end, but a beginning, a passage from one state of being to another. It is a moment of transformation, a purification, and an opportunity for growth. And perhaps death is not the final step, but the beginning of an eternal journey. As we contemplate death and the mysteries beyond, we realize that our journey does not end with our physical death. Death is a transition, a transformation, a part of the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Each death represents a step forward in the soul's journey, and each soul carries within it the potential for eternal growth and evolution. If death is indeed a beginning, then we must approach it with awareness, understanding, and purpose. As we live our lives, we must remain conscious of the fact that death is always with us, and that the way we live determines the way we die. By living consciously, we can ensure that our transition through death is meaningful, and that our journey through eternity is one of growth, wisdom, and enlightenment. Thank you for watching. If you wish to continue this profound journey, explore the secrets beyond death, and embark on a quest for wisdom and understanding, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. May your light shine brightly as you walk the path toward eternity.